Right, now we welcome into the NIL Minor Lounge Davis Ovard. He's a freshman golf player at Baylor University. Been competing for basically his whole life, and now he's at Baylor and looking to do great things there. Davis, welcome in. How are you doing this evening?
We're good. We're just getting into spring season, pretty busy. But yeah, we're excited and I'm doing great. So
Yeah, and I know you, that's great to hear. I know you live and breathe golf. You've been playing competitively since you were five, and that's not just, hey, I was, swinging a golf club since I was five. You competed in many like kids junior national tournaments and things like that growing up. Just if you don't mind, introduce yourself and tell us about how you kind of got involved in golf and kind of started that journey.
yeah, so it mainly comes from my older brother, Dawson Ovard. He played at SMU and he graduated last year. But he started playing about when he was 6 or 7, and he's 4 years older than me. So, when I like started walking and getting active, I saw him playing golf and I was like, oh, like I want to do that. And so, I mean, it's basically all I've known just from watching him and then starting on my own, getting in the tournaments when I was 5 and 6. And then, I mean, it's basically all I've ever done. I mean, I've played a little bit other sports, but I always knew golf was just what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, my parents just we're a huge golf family. My parents never really were big into golf until my older brother and I started playing. And then now we just live and breathe golf, like you said. I mean, we've always got golf on at the house and we're always at the course. And, it's just kind of our way of life and we love it. So, um, yeah, I mean, golf is just how we live and I love it. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What's is there a moment that that made you fall in love with golf, at such a young age, or was that just, hey, my brother's doing this and I really want to, do what my older brother's doing?
At the younger age, it was mainly just because he was doing it and I
Hmm.
wanted to do it because of him. But like, because when you're young, I guess, at least for me, like everyone thinks that like golf is like a boring sport when you're young, right? Like no one thinks it's
Sure.
like football or basketball. And so like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, golf is so fun. Like I want to do this as much as I can when I was younger. But as I got older, I was like I met so many friends through tournaments and like my closest friends now I met them through golf. And so it's like growing up playing tournaments with these kids from around the same area as me and, growing those relationships and then going to the course with them and playing on the weekends with them. It was just like I fell in love with just those on the course moments with my friends and just like the most fun I had was on the course with them. And so I was like, okay, like I love this. Like I want to do this every day. And then there's also the competitive aspect where I'm a super competitive person, and so I love like any games that involve me winning or having like a shot at winning. Like,
Yeah.
um, so I mean, the competitive side of it is I wanted to like be the best I could be and try to like beat my friends on the course, right? When we play games on the course, like it's super fun, but I also want to beat them so I can show that I'm better. But
Of course.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, super competitive, and it kind of shows in your results. So just for those that are, just tuning in and getting to know Davis, um, seven-time participant in the U.S. Kids Golf World Championships. So, we're not lying when we're saying you've been playing competitive since you were five. But then you won two-time Northern Texas PGA State championships. You just recently last fall as at Baylor um, placed second in the Legends Junior Tour Byron Nelson Junior Championship, and then this past spring and or to start the new year, January, you finished tied for fourth out in Phoenix, Arizona, at one of the top amateur tournaments in the nation. Um, so you're highly competitive and you're putting up great results your whole life. What put can you help put that in perspective, like what the PGA State Championship is, and the Byron Nelson, and the amateur tournament you just competed in? Like, can you kind of help frame the perspective of what that means in terms of where you're ranking, from a national standpoint, and how that may or may not help Baylor's overall golf team?
Yeah, so the North Texas Junior PGA tournaments were just for like juniors, like anywhere from, I mean, they go young to like 8 years old and they go up to like 16,
Yeah.
15 years old. And so they have different age groups, right? Whatever age you're in is the kids you play against. But those tournaments are just for kids from all over Texas, from North Texas. And in my opinion, I think Texas has the most competitive golf in the country. So I think growing up here is part of the reason that, I've been able to accomplish what I've done. And so yeah, those tournaments are just Texas kids. And then the Legends Junior Tour is a junior tour out of Texas, and it aims at like high school kids, so a little bit older than the other
Mhm.
tournaments. And the Junior Byron Nelson there's a PGA tournament called the Byron Nelson,
Right.
and they call it the Junior Byron Nelson. And like Jordan Spieth won it 3 times when he was a junior, and some other like big names have won it. And so, yeah, I got second in that one. I lost in playoff for that one. That one kind of stung. But
Mm.
and then some these that amateur tournament I played in January, just college kids from all over the country can play in them as long as you have an amateur status. So all college players are considered an amateur. Well, all juniors are considered an amateur too. If you're not a pro, you're considered an amateur.
Okay.
And so basically, those tournaments are all college kids who are looking to go pro in the future. Um, and so, yeah, it's a bunch of great college kids competing against each other outside of the college golf part. So when you're in season, you play for your team, right? But
Yeah.
then out of season, like that tournament was during Christmas break, so we were out of season. So you play individually as an amateur um, away from your team. And same thing during the summer for amateur tournaments, because in the summer, obviously out of season, so
Yeah.
you play individually. Um, but yeah, I mean, all of them are just you try to play against the best competition you can and just keep going up from there. So,
Yeah. That's excellent. Basically a bunch of college golfers, coming together in one off-season tournament, just
mhm.
trying to, prove their mettle to get to, the professional level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fantastic finish. Congrats to you, tied for fourth again, at a top tournament. And now you're kicking into high gear with the Baylor season, coming around in spring. I'm curious what the journey was like for you, going from high school to picking your college. Your brother, you mentioned older brother, he played golf at SMU. I think you knew you wanted to kind of stay in Texas. Uh,
Mhm.
how did you find Baylor? What was that recruiting journey like?
Yeah, so there was a lot that went into it, but so when beginning of high school, like freshman, sophomore year, I kind of was struggling. I wasn't playing very good. Um, and so junior year started playing better, senior year played well, but I committed um in junior year because recruiting starts the summer before junior year. And so I committed in junior year. But I knew I wanted to stay in the South because I like the weather here. I didn't want to go anywhere where it would snow or be cold.
Right.
Um, And then like I wanted to be in a competitive conference too. So like Big 12 or SEC. Um, and then I was at a tournament in Texas and in Houston, and I saw Coach McGraw, who's our head golf coach.
Hmm.
Um, and he was watching me, and then I had a phone call with him, and he was just like seemed like the best person ever. And so if you ask anyone in the golf world, they'll know who he is, just because he has been around for so long. He's coached a bunch of great players. He was at Oklahoma State, and he coached, I mean, a ton of pros there. I mean, Ricky Fowler, Charles Howell, a bunch of those guys.
Oh, wow.
And then he went to Alabama for a year as the assistant, and they won a national championship. And then he came to Baylor for the head coaching job. And basically, my process through talking with him, um, that first phone call, I was like, "Hey, coach, I would love to take a visit if you would have me." And he said yes. And then I took a visit here. And my first time meeting him here, we sat in his office and talked for like 4 hours. Just, I mean, I would normally, when you think of a visit, you think of going and seeing the facilities and stuff, but we just sat in his office and talked. And he was asking me like questions about my personal life and stuff like that. And throughout that, I was just like, okay, this is a guy I want to play for. And
Mhm.
so I was also interested in some other schools, you know. I talked to other Texas schools. Obviously, SMU was one of them. Just because I already knew the coaches from my brother, and it's like 30 minutes away from me. Um, so I knew them well. But just talking to Coach McGraw was just I wanted to play for him. And so yeah, I looked at SMU, some other Texas schools. It was mostly Texas schools. I looked at Pepperdine in California,
Okay.
um, just because it's Malibu, and so I was like, all right, like I want to just see what that's about. But
Nice area. Yeah.
yeah, but I decided that like I didn't want to go that far, because my swing coach is in Dallas, so I wanted to be close enough where I could still see him if I wanted some help. And so yeah, overall, I mean, it was mainly Coach McGraw. Um, just because I think he's a fantastic coach. And also the guys on the team here are amazing. And it just felt like the place to be. And so that's why, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Baylor has a really good team. I think you guys are expecting to, have some high goals and expectations for this season. Can you, what makes the team so, I guess, compatible? Because golf's interesting. You have the individual aspect and then the team aspect as well. Because I think a lot of people think of golf as an individual sport, but um,
Mhm.
the, there's that duality of worlds there. What makes this team so special that kind of had a gravitational pull for you?
Yeah, so I mean, this team just has so much chemistry. So I mean, we have a lot of older guys who have been here for a while, and so they've like grown with each other, and so I mean, they love each other. And then I mean, last year we didn't lose anybody from last year's team, because we had some seniors, but they took their COVID fifth year, so they're fifth years right now.
Okay.
So I mean, literally this year we just took the team from last year and then added me and my roommate, the other freshman, and so it was just like these guys have been here for a while and they chose to come back to stay with this team because they know that we can go far. And a huge part of it is just everyone is so competitive. Like you're part of a team and you love each other, but you also like every single day we play or practice, we're always playing against each other and we want to beat each other. And that's what makes us better. Um, and so yeah, I mean it's just like you like want to beat each other and that's where kind of like the chemistry comes from, right? I mean, you play against each other every day and then you get off the course and you go hang out and do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just it's great. And then we have Coach McGraw, our head coach, and we have two assistant coaches who are great, and they do a great job of just making it feel like a family, pretty much. And so I mean, yeah, we do everything together, and it's great.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's so key. More than I think people would realize to have that chemistry because you had the top five that are playing for that team championship um, type thing at all the tournaments. So and then obviously you guys are all competing against each other to get and be in the top five.
Mhm.
There is, I would imagine, an interesting dynamic there. And you mentioned that competitive spirit a lot. That was something that Coach McGraw said a lot about you was that he called you the silent assassin and really like bragged on your level-headedness or just being able to stay cool and calm on the golf course. What first, two questions, like what is it like for you when you're out there? Like what do you feel like really zen? Like how do you feel? And then second, like how are you able to kind of perform under pressure in the most pivotal of moments?
Yeah, so the first part is um like I tend to play my best when I feel happy. I don't think of it as like I am relaxed. I don't think of it as much of a zen
Mm,
as I just try to feel like I'm like happy and I'm going out here to have fun. And this sounds kind of weird, but sometimes I try to think of it as like less of a tournament round and more of a I'm playing against like my friends kind of round because I tend to play best when like I can be aggressive and I feel like I'm like not putting a ton of pressure on myself or there's not a lot on the line. I'm just playing to play golf pretty much.
right.
And for I have said this before, but I try to focus on only what I can control. Like try to focus on one shot at a time. I'm gonna hit the shot like this. If it doesn't, if I hit it how I want to and it doesn't turn out the way I want, I can't do anything about that. Um, and that's something that I've struggled with before I got to Baylor is I used to get really mad on the course. I used
Mm.
to be kind of a hothead and Coach McGraw really helped me out with that and kind of figuring out like just focus on what you can control. And also another part is whenever you get mad or show your emotions, it gives your opponent kind of a boost of energy. Because if they see you and you're like pouting and throwing a fit, they're going to be like, okay, like he's not going to play good. Like I can beat him. And so you don't want to give your opponent that satisfaction. And so I do a better job of it now, kind of keeping it to myself and just being like, hey, like if I make a mistake, it's in the past. I can't change it. Just focus on the future.
Yeah. Do you?
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, sorry, you can go ahead.
I did not mean to cut you off there. Sorry,
You're good.
sorry, Davis. I was just thinking, do you have like, does a particular example come to mind where either like, you shanked one or hit one in the lake or something and you either, melted down or you responded to that adversity? Is there a particular moment that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I would say there's two that come to mind. One was from a while ago when like 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years, I won a Legends tournament. Um, and I was, I think I was in the lead on the back nine, and I three putt like two holes for bogey. So I made like two bogeys, and I
Oh,
was just not playing well. And so, I sat on the 16th tee, which was a par three, and I was just like trying to calm myself down. I was just like, dude, just play golf. Like, come on. And so I made a birdie and then I ended up winning. Um, and then also another moment was this past fall during the Big 12 match play. We were playing against Houston in a match, and Coach McGraw was walking with me. And the match was pretty up and down. I would win a hole, he would win a hole. Um, And then Coach McGraw and he kept telling me, he was like, you're gonna win this match. Like whenever I lost the hole or something, he was like, you're gonna win this match. I was like, okay. And so we get to the last hole. I was one up, so I have to tie the last hole to win the match, tie or win the last hole to win the match. And then we both had a chip short of the green, me and my opponent. He hit it pretty far past the pin, not a great chip. And then it was really wet grass. I was nervous. I completely chunked my first chip, like just left it short of the green.
Mm.
So I was like, oh no, like, am I gonna choke this? And then coach helped me, talked to me, and then I hit a way better chip and won the match. But it's kind of like getting that extra voice of confidence really helps a lot. But your coach isn't always going to be there for you, right? So you got to
Yeah.
kind of bring that to yourself and get yourself to do it. And so, yeah. And this your second question, um, how I deal with pressure is I'm to be honest, I'm not the best at it. I've let's see, I've gone in two playoffs for tournaments that I was leading on the back nine and I lost both of them. And so it's something that I still work on.
Hmm.
It's something that I still work on. And so um, you know, but I also have had like good moments in pressure, right? Where I won that one tournament I was talking about. I won that match. Like I've had good moments.
Sure.
Um, but I mean, I feel like everyone struggles with it, right? But I just kind of tell myself like, dude, you've played like thousands of rounds of golf. You do this every day. It's just, I try to tell myself like, this is like nothing for you. Like you do this every day, you can do it. Kind of like that. And then also just having trust in God is a big thing for me. So I just tell myself like, hey, like win or lose, like God has a plan for you. And so it's kind of like if you lose, it's okay. Like, you know, it's not like I'm okay with losing. Like I obviously hate it, but there's bigger problems to have, and I just have like trust in God that, it's gonna work out either way. So yeah.
No, definitely that makes a whole lot of sense. And those are some interesting moments that I'm sure you've traveled and played a lot of different courses. What's the kind of the best place that you've traveled to and played at, like a favorite spot or best
Mm.
experience?
This is such a hard question. Um, yeah, I mean, I've been super fortunate that I've been able to travel and, I'm super lucky that my parents have given that to me. Um, I don't know, nicest would be a hard question, but my favorite um, is a course in North Carolina called Tobacco Road. Um,
Hmm.
and it's not like a super famous course. It's not known for like super nice condition or whatever. It's just like one of the most fun courses I've ever played. It's super like the holes are super creative, super hilly. I mean, you can drive the golf carts in the bunkers. There's like blind shots over hills that you can't see. It's just a really fun experience that you don't really get anywhere else. And so that's
Huh.
my favorite.
Just
Yeah.
a really unique course.
It's not really like the nicest course you'll play. I mean, I've definitely played nicer, but it's just like very different than everything else. So
Yeah.
that's why I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
hmm
For sure. Shifting gears a little bit, Davis. You mentioned earlier, right, the difference between professional golfers and then everybody else is an amateur. And, there are some specific rules about amateurism in golf and things like that. I'm curious what like you have already experienced while at Baylor in terms of when it comes to NIL, like what are you allowed to do in terms of like sponsorship wise and NIL wise, that, obviously that's, permissible by the NCAA now, but I know professional golf has its, other, set of rules that, you have
Yeah.
to be aware of. I'm curious what you've already learned in your time there of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, um, I'm lucky to have a deal with Lone Star NIL. That's pretty recent, and so obviously NIL is allowed now, and college athletes can, make money off their name. Um, but it obviously it used to not be like that. That could only be if you were a pro. You can make money, but now there's still some things like pros obviously play in tournaments to win money, but amateurs, you can't play in a tournament for money. Well, you can play in a tournament for money, but you can't keep the money if you win.
Got it.
And so like just a few weeks ago, I don't know if you keep up with golf at all, but this kid, Nick Dunlap, who went to he was a sophomore at Alabama this year, and he got an exemption into a PGA tournament and was playing as an amateur, and he ended up winning the tournament, like
Yeah.
beating, Justin Thomas, these other really good pros, and he won however much money it was, like a ton of money, but he couldn't keep the money because he was an amateur. And so they can't keep prize money. And so then he was like, all right, I just won this tournament. I'm going to go pro. And so he left college and turned pro. And now he's playing in all the PGA Tour tournaments, winning money now. And so it's just like amateurs now, college golfers can have partnerships and deals
Okay.
and get paid, obviously, the NIL rules, but then we can't play in tournaments for money and keep the money if we win. Only professionals can do that. So
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So basically, you can partner with Nike, have other
mhm.
companies endorse you. That's all fine. You're still considered an amateur. Obviously, it's fine by the NCAA, and then you're still an amateur by the golf definition, but you just can't keep any prize money if you win an amateur uh, tournament. Got
Exactly.
it. You mentioned being a Lone Star NIL ambassador. I'm just curious, like what that means to you.
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, uh, people who know me know I love Texas, and so just the name Lone Star was just like automatic attraction for me. And so yeah, I mean, I was super happy to find out about it. And then Mr. Burnett, the creator of Lone Star NIL, he knew my parents. They knew each other from my mom used to work in college football, and so they knew each other from kind of college sports. And so, they were talking about it, and then they approached me about it. But I mean, it means a ton to me. I mean, to just represent Texas student athletes is just great. I think Texas is the best state in the country for sports on a junior level or just like college level. Um, and so just like representing the name is just super special for me because I think that we have the best sports here. I mean, I think we have the best everything here, but
Yeah.
I think we have the best sports here. And so representing it is just super special. But yeah.
Yeah, everything's bigger and better in Texas, right?
Yes, sir. I agree.
Uh, yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, you have goals on you know have Baylor doing really well this year, but you have goals to pursue professional golf. I know, and you have some really interesting hobbies about entrepreneurism, real estate, community service and outreach, and scuba diving. I'm just kind of curious, like what's is the world your oyster? What's the top two biggest goals or things that you're kind of looking forward to in the future trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So the first goal on a college level would be, to do well in nationals and hope like go far and maybe win. And that's been my goal ever since I committed to Baylor. Just because we have a lot of older guys on this team, and being a freshman, I know that, as I said earlier, this team is the same from last year, just we added two freshmen. And so they were good last year, and this year we can be even better. And so as a freshman, I want to be part of that because I know that we can do it this year, and so I want to be a part of that. But then my second goal is obviously to go pro eventually after college. If I play good enough in college, right? But
Sure.
everyone knows the odds of going pro. It's not the best. So if that doesn't work out, or even if it does work out, I would also like to, pursue something. I'm sure trying to decide, what I want to major in and what I want to study, but real estate really interests me. My dad helped to move the PGA of America headquarters to Frisco, Texas. Um,
Okay.
and
Yep.
so I kind of got to see the whole process in that. And so that kind of interests me. And so real estate development, um, just kind of that side of it interests me. And so if professional golf for some reason doesn't work out, that's probably what I would want to do. Maybe start my own real estate development company or something like that. But yeah, I still got time to decide, so we'll see. But
Yeah, definitely. And real quick, a dream NIL deal for you would be what?
yeah, so I answered this on the survey that you had us do,
Yeah.
and it's kind of different because I feel like most people would say Nike or like Adidas or something. But I put NetJets, which is they sponsor a decent amount of PGA players. And the reason I put it was just because they would fly me private to tournaments because they're kind of like a private airline type
Yeah.
company. And so I know they sponsor some tour players, and I know they get like free flights and stuff like that. And so like that sounds pretty cool. But I mean, they would never sponsor a college player, but I just figured like dream case scenario that would be it. But they don't sponsor any college players or anything. So, but
Yet.
yeah,
Yet.
yet,
Yeah.
yet, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
that I love it. That's why I wanted to make sure I asked that there. So that's great. Where Davis, as we wrap it up here, thank you so much for
Mhm.
joining and sharing your story and letting me tell it. Where can everybody kind of follow you and your journey and Baylor's journey throughout the spring season, on your social media accounts and you things like that?
Yes, sir. So first of all, Baylor Men's Golf is on Instagram. Just Baylor. I'm pretty sure it's Baylor M Golf on Instagram and Twitter, or I guess X or
Yeah.
whatever. And then my personal account is my name is dumb, but it's Davis Cheesehead on Instagram and X and Facebook. Um, because I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, and I
Okay.
made that name. I made that name when I was little, and I had no reason to change it. So yeah, it's Davis Cheesehead on Instagram, and I do most of my social media activity on Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Perfect. Davis, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Best of luck this season.
yes, sir. Thank you.